Nobody will hear you cry when I tell you how worthless you are, Dominic whispered, leaning across the conference table in the empty office. His voice carried that special kind of quiet that somehow feels louder than shouting. The digital clock on the wall read 7:03 a.m. Outside, the morning sun hadn't fully risen, casting long shadows through the blinds. I sat perfectly still, my resume folder clutched in my hands like a shield. This performance review had been scheduled at this ungodly hour for one reason only. I've been waiting months for this, he continued, tapping a thick folder labeled with my name. Every mistake, every failure, all documented. His smile widened as he reached for the folder. Then the main doors swung open. The sound of multiple footsteps echoed through the empty workspace. Dominic's head snapped up, his expression shifting from smugness to confusion. Alara, the HR director, strode in with purpose, flanked by 2 security team members. Without acknowledging Dominic, she walked directly to me and placed a sealed envelope in front of me. "Open it, Linnea," she said gently. When I did, Dominic's face transformed in a way I'll never forget, from confidence to terror in the span of a single heartbeat. Before I share what happened next, you need to understand everything that led to this moment. The 6 months of psychological warfare that pushed me to the edge, the evidence I collected, and most importantly, why what happened next changed not just my life, but the entire company forever. My name is Linnea Ashford. I've always been the person who does things by the book, the reliable one, the problem solver. Before all this, I led our company's most successful product launch in 5 years. That success earned me a transfer to our flagship department, where I first met Dominic. From the beginning, something felt off. Dominic welcomed me with a stiff handshake and words that seemed supportive on the surface, but delivered with a chill that made me question if I'd imagined it. "Great to have you join us. Your reputation precedes you," he'd said, eyes evaluating me like I was an unexpected obstacle. The first few weeks seemed normal. I learned the department's systems, met my teammates, Veda, Archer, and Pax, all of whom seemed oddly reserved around Dominic. They were friendly enough when he wasn't around, but the atmosphere shifted whenever he entered a room. Conversations died. People found sudden interest in their computer screens. It started small. Dominic questioned minor decisions in my reports, things too insignificant to push back on. "Are you sure about this projection?" Or, "Did you double-check these numbers?" Always in front of others, always with that hint of doubt in his voice. By week 3, he began excluding me from crucial emails. I discovered this when Veda mentioned a meeting I should attend. "Didn't you get the thread about the quarterly planning session?" she asked, surprised when I had no idea what she meant. "Must have been an oversight," Dominic said when I approached him privately. "I'll make sure you're included next time." His eyes, however, told a different story. They watched me with cold calculation, assessing how I would respond. I did what I thought was right. I worked harder, arrived earlier, stayed later, triple-checked every report. But something changed in month 2. During a team presentation where I outlined a new efficiency protocol that could save the company's significant resources, Dominic interrupted. "That's actually based on Archer's framework from last year," he announced to the room. 20 pairs of eyes shifted to me, witnessing my confusion. Archer looked equally puzzled but remained silent. "I developed this independently," I said, maintaining my composure. "But I'd love to see Archer's work for comparison." "Let's move on," Dominic replied, dismissing the topic entirely. After the meeting, I searched company archives for Archer's supposed framework. It didn't exist. Later that week, I overheard Dominic speaking to our division VP. "Linnea has potential, but needs close supervision. Her attention to detail isn't what her previous managers claimed." The VP nodded, glancing at me through the glass conference room wall. The damage was done. The pattern escalated. My access to certain data systems was restricted due to security protocol updates. Projects I initiated were reassigned. My suggestions in meetings were acknowledged, then immediately reframed as someone else's idea, usually Dominic's. When our department prepared the quarterly manufacturing quality assessment, I noticed concerning patterns in our newest production line. The failure rate showed statistical anomalies that indicated potential consumer safety issues. I documented my findings and brought them directly to Dominic. "I'll review these," he said, taking my analysis. 2 days later, I received the final report for team distribution. My sections had been dramatically altered. The warning indicators were gone, replaced with sanitized language that masked the problems. When I questioned this privately, Dominic's response chilled me. "You're overreacting to normal variations," he said. "This isn't your previous department. We have different standards here." When I persisted, his tone hardened. "The report is finalized. Send it as is." I did something then that would later save me. I kept both versions. I saved everything. Original reports, emails, meeting recordings when permitted. I didn't know why yet, but something deep inside told me to create a paper trail. The situation deteriorated further. Dominic began calling me into his office for coaching sessions that consisted solely of criticism. My performance, my communication style, even my professional appearance became targets. "Your presentation style makes people uncomfortable," he claimed, though feedback from colleagues suggested otherwise. The isolation tactics intensified. Team lunches happened without notice. Crucial decisions were made in impromptu hallway discussions I wasn't part of. When important clients visited, I was assigned urgent tasks that kept me away. Veda noticed. "He did this to Talia before you," she whispered one day at the coffee machine. "She left after 4 months. Couldn't take it anymore." "Why?" I asked. Veda glanced around before answering. "Dominic only thrives when he's the smartest person in the room. Anyone who might outshine him becomes a target." I researched Thalia that evening. She'd been highly accomplished before joining our department. Now she worked for a smaller company in a reduced role. I found others too, all high performers who had brief tenures under Dominic before departing or transferring. The pattern was undeniable. By month 4, my health began suffering. Sleep became elusive. Anxiety followed me home each night. My appetite diminished. Friends commented on my weight loss, the shadows under my eyes. I considered resigning, but couldn't. My mother's progressive illness required expensive treatments not fully covered by insurance. My savings were depleting. I needed this job and its health benefits. So I adapted. I documented every interaction with Dominic. I forwarded important emails to my personal account. I recorded meetings when company policy allowed. I built relationships with colleagues in other departments. Most importantly, I kept watching the production quality issue that Dominic had dismissed. The turning point came last week. A system alert indicated anomalies in 3 consecutive production batches, exactly the pattern I'd warned about. I pulled the data directly, bypassing the filtered reports, and discovered the situation had worsened. This wasn't just about quality anymore. It represented potential consumer safety violations that could trigger regulatory action. I prepared a comprehensive analysis and requested an urgent meeting with Dominic. He rescheduled twice before finally agreeing to a brief discussion where he barely glanced at my findings. "We're aware of these variations," he said dismissively. "They're within acceptable parameters." "They're not," I insisted. "The clustering pattern indicates systematic failure. We need to halt production and investigate." His expression darkened. "That would cost millions and alarm the board unnecessarily. This stays within the department until we have more data." "But consumers could." "That's my final decision," he interrupted. "Your persistence on this is concerning, Linnea. Perhaps we should discuss your fit within this team." The threat was unmistakable. The next morning, I received the email scheduling my performance review for 7 a.m. with the subject line, "Comprehensive Performance Evaluation, Mandatory Attendance." The body contained just one line. Early scheduling ensures privacy for what will likely be an emotional conversation. When I showed the email to Veda, her face paled. He sent Thalia a similar message before she left. That evening, I made my decision. I compiled every document, email, and recording I'd collected over 6 months. I organized them into 3 categories: personal harassment, professional sabotage, and most critically, the production quality cover-up. After reviewing everything twice, I sent the entire package to 3 recipients: the company's legal counsel, the board's ethics committee, and Alara in HR. My message was simple. I believe these documents show a pattern of behavior that violates company policies and potentially regulations governing product safety. I'm scheduled for a 7 a.m. performance review tomorrow that I have reason to believe will result in my termination based on fabricated performance issues. I request immediate intervention. I sent it at 8:42 p.m. By 9:17, I received a brief response from Alara. Received. Do not discuss with anyone. Attend the meeting as scheduled. That night, I barely slept. I prepared for the worst. Unemployment, a damaged reputation, potential retaliation. I rehearsed what I would say when Dominic tried to fire me. I updated my resume and packed my personal items in a small bag, ready to walk out with dignity. What I didn't prepare for was what actually happened. As I stood in that conference room at 7 a.m., watching Alara hand me that envelope while security positioned themselves near Dominic, I felt something unexpected, not triumph or relief, but a strange hollowness mixed with validation. The envelope contained a letter acknowledging receipt of my evidence, confirmation that an investigation had begun immediately upon my email's arrival, and most surprisingly, a temporary reassignment to work directly with the executive team on a special project. "What is the meaning of this?" Dominic demanded. Standing so abruptly, his chair rolled backward. Alara turned to him, her expression professional but unyielding. "Dominic, we need to continue this conversation in my office. Security will escort you." "This is ridiculous," he sputtered, looking from Alara to me. "Whatever she's told you is fabricated. Her work has been substandard since she arrived. I have documentation." "Yes," Alara interrupted. "We've reviewed your documentation. We've also reviewed the unaltered originals she provided. The discrepancies are concerning." The color drained from Dominic's face. "You can't possibly—" "We've also received the production quality reports," Alara continued. "Both versions. The board has ordered an immediate halt to production line 3 pending investigation." Understanding dawned in his eyes. His gaze snapped to me, no longer dismissive but filled with something new. Fear. "Please proceed to my office," Alara said firmly. "Linnea, Wynn from the executive office will meet you upstairs in 15 minutes. Take some time if you need it." As security escorted Dominic out, he turned back once. "This isn't over," he said, quiet enough that only I could hear. But looking into his eyes, I knew differently. It was over. For him. If you've ever experienced workplace bullying or watched someone abuse their power, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps share these stories that too often remain hidden in professional settings. Click the notification bell to follow more workplace justice stories, because knowing you're not alone can make all the difference when you're fighting an unfair battle. What happened next shocked even me. The investigation revealed patterns I hadn't fully understood, connections that explained Dominic's behavior, and consequences that would reshape the entire company. But most importantly, it taught me about power, both the kind that destroys and the kind that heals. After security escorted Dominic away, I sat alone in the conference room, hands trembling slightly as I reread the letter. The silence felt strange after months of constant anxiety. Part of me couldn't believe what had just happened, that someone had actually listened and taken action. Wynn, the executive director's assistant, arrived precisely 15 minutes later. She had a quiet confidence I immediately respected. "The board is meeting an emergency session," she explained. "They'd like you to present your findings directly." Walking through the executive floor felt surreal. 12 hours earlier, I'd been preparing for termination. Now I was being ushered into a room where company decisions affecting thousands of employees were made. 8 people sat around the table, including the CEO, Meredith. I recognized most from company announcements but had never met them personally. For 90 minutes, they asked detailed questions about my documentation. I explained the production line issues, showing the statistical patterns and potential consequences. "Why didn't you bring this to us sooner?" asked one board member. "I followed protocol," I replied, maintaining eye contact. I reported to my supervisor first. When he dismissed the concerns, I gathered more evidence before escalating. Meredith nodded. "You did everything correctly. What concerns me is how many others might have been silenced before reaching this point. The investigation moved with unexpected speed. By afternoon, they'd interviewed Veda and Archer. By evening, they'd spoken with 6 former employees who had worked under Dominic. 2 days later, I learned the full extent of what they discovered. Alara invited me to her office, where Meredith joined us. "We've uncovered something systematic," Alara began. "Dominic maintained 2 sets of personnel files, the official ones in our system and private ones he kept encrypted on his personal drive." Meredith continued. "His private files contained altered performance metrics, manipulated peer feedback, and edited meeting recordings. He specifically targeted employees with high potential ratings from previous managers." "But why?" I asked. "What possible benefit?" "Department performance bonuses," Alara explained. "Our compensation structure rewards departments that improve year over year. If Dominic drove out high performers before they could contribute significantly, he could bring in replacements, set them up to underperform, then gradually improve their metrics. This created the appearance of successful leadership," Meredith added. "His department always showed improvement curves that impressed senior leadership, but the baseline was artificially lowered first." "That's disturbingly calculated," I said. "It gets worse," Alara replied. "The production quality issues you identified connect directly to his bonus structure. The quarterly quality metrics affected his performance evaluation. By hiding the problems, he maintained his perfect record." I felt sick. "So he risked consumer safety for a bonus?" "Approximately $87,000 annually," Meredith confirmed. "We've identified 16 employees over 4 years who experienced similar treatment. 4 filed complaints that were mysteriously resolved with minimal investigation." "How was this missed for so long?" I asked. Meredith's expression darkened. "He had protection. The previous HR manager was his university classmate. We're investigating whether that relationship compromised earlier complaints." The next week brought rapid changes. Dominic was terminated, of course. The company issued a formal apology to me and the other affected employees. Production Line 3 underwent complete reevaluation, resulting in a voluntary recall of products, costly but necessary. Most surprisingly, I was asked to lead a new internal quality assurance team reporting directly to the board, bypassing the traditional management structure. My first assignment: review all departments for similar patterns. Archer approached me in the break room a few days later. "I should have spoken up," he said quietly, "when he claimed my non-existent framework was the basis for your proposal. I knew it was wrong." "Fear is a powerful silencer," I replied. "He cultivated it deliberately. He told me once that I was on a performance improvement plan, but it never appeared in my official file," Archer continued. "He used it to justify excluding me from projects. I believed I was failing." Similar conversations followed with other colleagues. Patterns emerged of isolation, manipulated feedback, and psychological tactics designed to create self-doubt. Dominic hadn't just targeted potential rivals. He'd created an environment where everyone felt vulnerable and no one trusted their own perceptions. 2 weeks after that morning confrontation, I received a message from Thalia, one of Dominic's previous victims. She wanted to meet for coffee. We sat at a quiet cafe near the office. She looked nothing like her company photo, more confident, more present. When HR contacted me about Dominic, I couldn't believe someone finally caught him. She began. "I've been following the recall announcement. That was your discovery?" I nodded, though I never expected it would lead to all this. "I found quality issues too," she revealed. "In an earlier production line. When I brought it to Dominic, he explained them away. Then my performance reviews suddenly tanked. I started questioning my own competence." "That's exactly what he did to me," I said. "I heard you kept records," she said. "Smart, I wish I had." "It wasn't strategy initially," I admitted. "Just instinct." Thalia smiled. "Well, your instincts changed everything. The company called me yesterday with a formal apology and an offer to return with back compensation for lost bonuses. 4 others received similar calls." I felt a ripple of satisfaction. "Are you considering it?" "Actually, yes. The new management structure sounds promising." She hesitated. There's something else you should know. After I left, I reported my concerns about the production quality to the Consumer Protection Agency. My eyes widened. You did? Anonymous tip. They opened a preliminary investigation but closed it when they couldn't access internal documents. With the voluntary recall, they've reopened the case. The implications hit me. Dominic could face regulatory penalties, not just termination. Exactly. Regulatory violations follow you forever in this industry. Thalia's expression held no sympathy. Some actions deserve permanent consequences. When I returned to the office, Alara was waiting for me. We've received notice of a regulatory investigation, she said. They're specifically requesting all communications from Dominic regarding production quality over the past 3 years. What does that mean for the company? I asked. We're cooperating fully. The voluntary recall helps our position. The focus seems to be on individual accountability rather than corporate penalties. She studied my expression. You don't seem surprised. I suspected it might happen, I answered truthfully. The violations were serious. Well, there's more. The board reviewed our communication protocols after this incident. We're implementing a new anonymous reporting system that bypasses direct supervisors. She handed me a folder. They'd like you to oversee its development. The following months transformed the company culture. The new reporting system identified 2 other managers with concerning patterns, though none as severe as Dominic's. Mandatory training programs on psychological safety and ethical leadership were implemented. Most importantly, employees who had left under suspicious circumstances were contacted and offered reconciliation. 3 months after that 7 a.m. meeting, I received an unexpected email from a law firm representing Dominic. He was seeking a letter of reference as part of a settlement negotiation with the company. In exchange, he would drop potential claims of defamation. I forwarded it to legal without responding. Their reply was swift. The company will not be providing references nor entertaining settlement discussions regarding factual reporting of documented misconduct. Later that day, I learned Dominic had taken a position with a smaller competitor in another state, one apparently unaware of the regulatory investigation. 2 weeks after that, the regulatory findings became public record. The competitor terminated him immediately. The most meaningful moment came 6 months after that fateful morning. Meredith called me into her office and slid a folder across her desk. The board approved a new executive position focusing on workplace integrity and quality assurance. We'd like you to consider it. The role represented everything I'd fought for: accountability, transparency, and systematic protection against abuse of power. It also came with resources to implement real change. Why me? I asked. There must be people with more experience. Experience isn't what we need, Meredith replied. We need someone who recognized a systemic problem, documented it methodically, and had the courage to report it despite personal risk. Someone who demonstrated integrity when it was hardest to do so. I accepted the position the next day. 1 year after Dominic scheduled that 7 a.m. meeting, our company received an industry award for ethical leadership. The production line issues had been fully resolved, with enhanced quality control processes that became the new standard. 5 of Dominic's previous targets had returned to the company in advanced positions. As for Dominic himself, the regulatory penalties included a 5-year industry ban. His professional reputation never recovered. I heard through industry contacts that he eventually took a position far below his qualifications in an unrelated field. The systematic destruction he had inflicted on others' careers ultimately became the blueprint for his own downfall. The sweetest part? I never once had to lie, exaggerate, or manipulate. I simply preserved the truth he tried to bury and ensured it reached those who needed to see it. His own actions did the rest. In my new executive role, I established a mentoring program specifically designed for employees recovering from workplace trauma. We called it the Phoenix Program, helping people rebuild confidence after having it systematically dismantled. Thalia became one of our first mentors. During a leadership conference where I presented our new ethics framework, someone asked if I felt satisfied with how everything resolved. Justice and revenge aren't the same thing, I answered. I didn't want revenge. I wanted protection for myself and others. I wanted accountability. The fact that his own actions led to his downfall wasn't my goal, but it was perhaps the most fitting conclusion. Afterward, a young manager approached me. "I'm currently documenting a similar situation in my department," she whispered. "Hearing your story gives me courage." That's when I realized the true impact wasn't just about one toxic supervisor being removed. It was about breaking a cycle of silence that protects workplace abusers. It was about creating a blueprint for others to follow. The company culture transformed. Employees now regularly share concerns without fear. Managers understand that building others up rather than tearing them down leads to better outcomes for everyone. Most importantly, no one starts their day with the dread I experienced for those 6 months. The early morning meeting Dominic scheduled to break me became the catalyst for rebuilding not just my career, but an entire workplace ecosystem. His words, "Nobody will hear you cry," proved prophetic in a way he never intended. There were no tears that morning, only the sound of justice finally arriving. And it all began because I trusted my instincts enough to document everything, even before I understood why. Have you ever witnessed or experienced workplace bullying? How did you handle it? The sad reality is that many people suffer in silence, unaware of their options or afraid of consequences. Share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Your story might give someone else the courage they need. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We share these real-life experiences because workplace justice matters, and sometimes seeing someone else stand up to abuse is exactly what we need to find our own courage. Click the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming stories about overcoming workplace challenges and finding your professional power. Remember, documentation is your strongest ally. The truth, preserved carefully, has power that manipulation can never match.